So today we're going to be building a email newsletter template, and I made a dummy email, and this is what it looks like. It's very basic. You've got the name of the company, the date of the email. I've got in the email body copy here with some links. I've got a call to action. In this case, I'm using a registration button. So, if you want to send an email for people to join an event and you want them to register online, this could be one way to reach the audience by emailing them this newsletter and have a call to action to get to that registration page. And then below that, I just have two headings and copy in case you want to add some side notes about whatever else you want to say in this newsletter. So that's what that looks like, and we're going to go ahead and build this in HTML. All email templates, they have to be done, and what I like to say is old school HTML. So basically the very basics of HTML, table structures only, inline styles if there's any, things like that. No cascading style sheets, no includes, no JavaScripts, just very basic. And the reason for this is because email clients like Outlook and Gmail and Yahoo and Hotmail, and there's a few others, they have certain rules, and you can read about those online. I'm sure if you did a search for how to build an email template, maybe that's how you found this video, but there are plenty of articles out there talking about what you can and cannot do when you build your email template. So let's begin now. What I first want to talk about, since we are doing these in tables, you have to understand how table structure works. And that's why I did this email so basic, is because the simpler the better, I think, for email templates in terms of building them. So let me just turn on my rulers here. I have some guides set up, and there you can see these blue lines showed up now. I'm in Photoshop. And you can kind of see right now there is sort of a table structure already in place. You've got one row up top, a row on the bottom, and each row has two columns, which gives you 4 different cells. Okay, your table is going to be built the exact same way. I've also got this little beige color as a background color that I'm going to be using, and we'll implement that as well. So let's jump over to the HTML editor. I'm using Dreamweaver, and I've already got my body set up. So let's go ahead and let's start building out that table structure. And so let's see here. Let's start with the table, and we'll type in table, and we'll close that tag. And inside the table, we're going to set up, like I said, let me flip back to Photoshop. There are 2 rows and 2 columns, okay, 4 total cells in this email template. So we're going to build our first row, and that looks like a TR, table row, and we'll close that. And inside this row, there's going to be two different cells. So we'll add these in. And then inside here, we'll just say, I'm going to put in, this is where the heading, or the title will go, or the company name. This is where the date will go. And I'm just going to copy this to help speed the process up a little, and put in another row. And this one will have the body copy, and this one will have the side information, like your, the button and the copy on the right that we had. And let me just save this, flip over to Firefox here so you can see what it looks like. And you can see there's no styling whatsoever, it's very basic, and you've got, as I highlight, you can see there is a little spacing there, space in between here. You can see you've got your 4 different cells, your 2 rows, 2 columns. Let's go back to the editor here, and let's now define the table width. The average width for an email template is 600 pixels. I've seen some that go to 700. We're going to say it's 600 for now. Some cell, let me undo that. Some cell spacing, we're going to set that to 0. Cell padding we'll set to 0, and border on this will also be 0. So far, you can now see it's been grown out to 600 width. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Photoshop, and I'm going to just grab this color, find out what this color name is, copy that and say OK. And I'm going to flip back to the editor. Now I'm going to give this cell, this entire row will have the same color. So right on this row I'm going to add in an inline style. And what that looks like is like this. You type in style, put in the background color you want, and I specify that same color I just copied. Styles can be in a style sheet in a separate document. They can be in the header of a document, or they can be right in your code. You just call it by saying style equals inside of an element and begin putting in your CSS for that. So if I save that and go back to the template, let's go back to the browser and refresh it, you can see now that has that same color I chose in my design. What I want to do now is find out how tall this banner is, and I'm going to use Photoshop for this. Again, I'm going to grab my slice tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a slice down here and line it up with my guide, and I'll double click on this and this little menu will come up, and I can see that this is 128 pixels in height. So I'll go back to the editor and I'll go to the row with the style on it, and I could do it right in here, or actually I can put it in on the row itself. So I'll just type in height 128 pixels. Actually, I don't even think you need to put in pixels in this case, and we don't. Notice the copy's dead center in the table. To change that, right in the TD cell, you can just type in the align to the top. And if I save that and flip back, that will shoot up to the top. And I'll copy this and do the same thing for the date. And while I'm at it, I'll add it to the body copy and the side information and refresh that. Great. Let's go back to Photoshop and let's grab this next color is the sidebar here. We'll grab that, copy it, go back to the editor, and on the style, I'm not going to style the entire row because these cells are different colors. So on this cell, I'm going to put in a style background color, and I'll choose that color. And flip back to the browser, and you can see right here it's very tiny, but it does have that color. Now I noticed, or I mentioned that the design had a background color, so we'll grab that. It's an off-white. Go back to the editor. And backgrounds are tricky. You can put them on the body tag and it's just BG color and type in that color. Just in case, I like to put another table around my entire table. I'm going to collapse this real quick just so I can have a little more room, and I'm going to close this table and I'll just type in one row and it's one cell in that row. And this table, the width of this will be 100%, and it will have cell padding of 0, cell spacing of 0, and a border of 0. Now I'm going to add the background color, and I'll put in that color. Sorry, it should be BG color. And on top of it, I'm going to add another style, and I'm going to put in background and put in that color. Now this is an actual style. This is an attribute on this table element or table tag. And the reason I'm doing it multiple times is because we're working with multiple email clients, and not every client acts the same way as if it was browsers. All browsers view things differently. So that's just kind of a check to make sure it works in all the different Outlook and Gmail and Yahoo and so forth. So we've got a body color on the table that's surrounding it, and we've got an actual style built into that. If I save this and flip to the browser and refresh this page, you can see the off-white color is now showing. Now the body copy color, that is a solid white. So let's go back to the editor. I'll reopen this by double-clicking, and I'll add a style on that body copy area. And this will have the background color of white, which looks like that. refresh, and you can see now I've got that white body. Let's go back to our design and see how we're doing so far. I'm going to hide these guides. So if I flip between the design and the browser, you can see it's starting to take shape. Now we're going to apply the font styles, spacing, and we'll toss in some copy and the button and so forth. So let's work on adding some spacing first. Let's go back to the editor. And I'm just going to put right in here, right in the style, I'm going to add in a padding of, say, 15 pixels. And that will put 15 pixels around the entire element there. So let's refresh this, and you can see I've got padding on the top, at the bottom, on the sides. And you can't tell on this side, but if the copy was to go all the way across, it would stop just before 15 pixels of the border. I'm going to do the same thing for the side column here. Padding 15. Flip back to the design, you can see, and they adjust, the tables adjust accordingly, and you notice that the date shifted when the side info shifted. The reason for that is because this is a table with 4 cells. If this cell grows wider or smaller, the date up top will grow wider or smaller. They're both in alignment with each other. So if one cell moves, the other cells are going to move. So be careful with that. If you wanted this cell to be a different width than the cell above, that is another video in itself, but it's because we'll have to merge cells together, create new tables within cells, and it gets a little more complicated. For now, let's stick with this and continue moving forward with this template. So we've got the padding on those 2 on the bottom there, and let's do the same thing for the top. So I'm going to go back and right in this cell, I'm going to add a style, and I'm going to put padding, and I'll do 15 for now, and I'll do the same thing here on the date. I'm using 15 pixels as a guess. It's an estimate. I'm not measuring right now in Photoshop. Just to give some kind of padding to start with, and then I can adjust it later. So now let's go ahead and find out what fonts I'm using here. I'll start off with a body copy. This heading here is just using Helvetica, and I'm going to grab the color of that font. Great. Flip over to the browser, or the editor, I'm sorry. And I'm going to delete that copy and put in a heading here. So I'll put in heading 1, for example, and I'll type in heading 1. And now I'm going to style this heading. I'm going to put in a style. I'm going to add the color that I just copied. I'm going to put a font family of, I'll just choose Arial and delete the word Arial, so Helvetica will be first. And let me go back to Photoshop, find out what size I made that. It's a size 20. Okay, so I'll put font size 20 pixels. And I'll save that and flip over. You can see it's starting to take shape. It's bold here. It's not so bold there. That's because headings automatically come pre-bold. So to change that, we want to add the font weight and change it to 100. And if I flip back to the browser, you'll see it's now no longer bold. So now let's add that copy, dummy copy here. So I'm just going to grab my text tool, I'll copy this, I'll flip over to Dreamweaver, and right in here I'm going to add a paragraph tag, paste that in there, and I'm going to have 2 paragraphs, so I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to open another one. And I've already got it closed from the previous paragraph that I had opened. And I'm just going to close that up so that lines up. I'll save that, flip over to the browser, and there's the copy. Notice it's just very ugly, not styled yet, so we'll take care of that next.